Let's see if this works. I'm trying to figure out how to lock exposure. Anyhow, something that I should talk about, and I realized I haven't really, is the tripod I'm using. I've been experimenting with shooting off the tripod a little more, and I've tried a couple different ones. There are a lot of good options in the market right now, and I seem to be settling on a tripod from a company called Field Optics Research. I ran into these guys at SHOT Show a couple years ago. They had some interesting stuff. I've been talking to them on and off a little bit. They've been making some changes to what they're doing, and they came up with a very interesting, very clever type of a clamp. Let's see, it's all off. Then I want to show you. Let's see if it comes through. First of all, you can see that the AR-15 can comfortably be suspended from the front and nothing shifts. It's a bowl top tripod. The interesting part is the clamp. Let's see if you can focus on this. Well, I hope you can, we'll see. So there are two clamps here, and that's not unique to different companies. One is the Arca-Swiss, and another one is kind of a weird version of a Picatinny clamp. Let's see if I can get it closer to the camera so you can see. Maybe you can see. I'll try to pull it out in post. Okay. So the Picatinny grooves are only half of the width of the slit here. That's what I was just using to. Hold the rifle. And it has sort of an interesting effect. I think the biggest reason is somebody has a patent on the full Picatinny like this and had to work around. The side effect of this is that now inserting the rifle into this Picatinny clamp is really straightforward, because you basically insert on one side and just tilt, lock the lever, and you are good to go for actual general sighting in. So there is a bowl top here that all moves around. Okay, and if you've locked your elevation, you just want to pan, there is a little here, but this thing can pan around very nicely. This is sort of a repositionable clamp. Okay. When it is locked, this thing is not going anywhere, but once it's loosened, you can move and pan and do all sorts of fun stuff. I'm enjoying the tripod quite a bit. It is exceptionally sturdy. So this is not the sturdiest tripod they've got. They have a PRO32 with 39mm legs. This is PRO32 with 32mm legs. The legs are carbon fiber. The interesting thing here is that, so with normal tripods, if you lift it up with something here, the legs can start moving and collapsing. They made a feature where there is an extra adjustment here, where I can lock this leg in position. Now I can't fold it, right? So if, for example, I've set up a shooting position, like for PRS or stuff like that, and then I want to move. Now the position, I just lift it up by the rifle. The tripod weighs, I don't know, a couple of pounds, maybe 3, I don't know, it's very light. It just hangs there. The legs do not collapse on their own. I can lift, reposition, lower, and without anything collapsing on me, without anything give me a hint of a trouble. All in all, I am quite impressed with this thing. They sent it to me in this fairly nice bag. And since I was looking at stuff, I bought a few things from them, and a couple of them are quite clever, so I figured I should show you. One is their angle bracket. It works on this or really on any tripod that has Arca-Swiss connector, right? So if you've got it. Okay, the clamp is not adjusted for this one. The clamp has additional adjustment on the side, so it can be easily adjusted. But anyhow, so the way this thing works, so it's Arca-Swiss to Arca-Swiss. If you have an Arca-Swiss connector, you can, excuse me. There we go. If you have an Arca-Swiss connector, you can connect to this, so any rifle with an Arca-Swiss interface will fit. You press a button, and this thing can tilt. So for the advantage of this, it adds very little extra weight. Okay, you can adjust tension here, so now it's easy to move, and there is a lever here where you can loosen this. Right now it's loosened. Now it's fairly easy to move. It locks in a down position. There's a button here to unlock it. Okay. You can tilt it and lock. It offers a couple of interesting alternatives that I need to play with. One, the most obvious one, if you're hunting or if you have some sort of an event that requires you to shoot at an angle. This is easily done. You set up a mount, set up your rifle on a tripod using Arca-Swiss, like you always do. When you need to tilt more than the ball top tripod gives you, you just tilt using this bracket. Very clever. In principle, this is the disadvantage of ball top tripods. With a ball, with a ball head, you can tilt more, but it is less stable. The ball top keeps you lower, and it is ultimately more stable shooting position. And now, addition of this thing, if you are so inclined, allows you to get additional angle. Another thing I want to experiment with a little bit is for loading the tripod on difficult terrain. Sometimes with rifles that have a fair amount of kick, my forward load is quite significant. So normally, the normal tripod, it's not really an issue, but if I am on a weird terrain of some sort, it becomes an issue of how I set up. If I'm on an incline, it's difficult to preload it in a consistent way. So one of the things I've been experimenting with, and it seems to be working pretty nicely for me. Remember, so competition shooters do all this stuff instinctively. I'm not a competition shooter. I can set up the tripod a little bit like this, with the legs on one side a little bit shorter to adjust for the terrain, so tilt it backwards, right? And where's this thing? There we go. Okay. And now I can use the angle bracket to compensate for the tilt of the tripod. And when locked, it seems to be locked very securely. Once again, I can set up a nice shooting position, and the leg of the tripod that I'm loading up against, right? So I don't have Arca-Swiss on this gun, so I can show you. No, my gun's today Picatinny. When I can load up against this, and I can load up with a little bit more pressure, so I can control recoil a little bit better, because the angle bracket is basically compensating for the backwards lean of the tripod, if that makes any sense to you. But anyhow, so I'm kind of impressed with this thing. It's it's one of those field research optics guys are not gonna like me saying this. It's one of those simple, stupid things. It seems like a simple thing, and I don't understand why I haven't seen it before. It's clever and it works well. So one final thing from field research optics that I've been messing with is the Gunpod, and I think they have a newer, more clever version coming out. And this is the one I got. I have a good number of rifles that don't have Picatinny or Arca-Swiss anything on them, and for those, I like to use this guy. So again, they have an opposite screw, so I can easily adjust tension. There we go. So the way this guy works, I will turn it toward you. It's not substantially different from most other, like the hog saddle, stuff like this, clamps. But it works in an interesting way. So there are rubber inserts here that hold the rifle securely. If you happen to have some sort of Picatinny on the side, that's spaced so they can grab on the Picatinny rail in a better way. If you happen to be using this guy on a regular, the bottom interface is Arca-Swiss, on a regular Arca-Swiss tripod. Okay, there we go. They have the bottom plastic insert comes out and leaves a Picatinny rail. So if you have a Picatinny bottom rifle, you can lock into this. And this will work with any Arca-Swiss tripod, or you can just clamp. If you have a rifle with Picatinny on the sides, there are the rubber pads here. I can contour to hold that better. But also you can take the side plate and remove it and reverse it. And on this side, once again, I don't know if you can see in this illumination, here, this is machined aluminum, also spaced to grab and lock onto Picatinny rails. I've been playing with it a little bit. It's extremely secure. I've tried, reversing it and holding it onto a rifle I have that has two Picatinny rails on the sides, and it's absolutely rock solid. Although, honestly, for any shooting that I've done, these rubber inserts hold it securely enough, and they're not giving me any sort of an issue. Having both the Gunpod, the clamp, and this type of a tripod head that allows me to hold on to Picatinny or Arca-Swiss is a little bit redundant, but this has sort of replaced in many ways for me shooting from the bench, and I like getting the tripod shooting practice whenever I'm sighting something new, testing optics, stuff like that. And when I'm shooting older guns, my mill surplus guns or hunting type rifles, 22s and things that don't have Picatinny and Arca-Swiss, rather than trying to figure out how to attach rails to it, just bring this thing with me, pop it on a tripod, and I am good to go. Anyhow, if you have questions about this tripod, let me know. You'll see it in a lot more pictures and videos. I'm kind of enjoying this thing. I plan to spend more time with it. Zero issues so far, but my uses, I don't use it terribly hard. I go to the range, I shoot. It's been through recoil, but nothing crazy. The most recoil that I've had shooting off of the tripod was my 300 WSM lever gun, the Browning DLO takedown I have. So nothing really severe, and no really heavy guns yet. I plan to do more with it, but for now, like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic. All right. If you have questions, you know where to find me. Thank you for watching.